Welcome to Get Motivated with Dr. Donato, a show designed to reach you where you are, focusing on the fact that you can be anything you want or desire. All you have to do is get motivated. If you need a challenge in your life, then look no further. Get Motivated with Dr. Donato starts now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Get Motivated. I'm your host, Donato, and today I've got a special guest, Jason Dunn, all the way from down under. That's probably a horrible accent there. Thank you, Jason.
All the way from down under on Australia Day.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's excellent. So yeah, all the way from Sydney, Australia, Jason Dunn, an incredible person here. I guess you released your book technically a year ago, but now it's just being re-released or released for the first time here in the U.S. market. And thankfully, now we can have it here. And it's called Unlimited. And I mean, there's just so much we're going to get into that, but I want to show everybody what it looks like there. And wow, there you go. You got the real thing. And what, I say testimony because all the trials and tests that we go through in our lives become our testimony. And, I've heard some of your story before, and we'll get into it in a moment, but I'm just, again, thankful for you being here today. I like to ask a couple of icebreaker questions here in the beginning, so sure. Let's go with that. If you could meet anybody, either past or present, who would it be and why?
There are so many. Donato, I think, there are incredible people all over our planet, and historically, there are so many people I would have loved to have met. People like Nelson Mandela, Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King. Just there's a sort of endless array of people I have great admiration and interest in. I think, and I was contemplating this last night. I think the one person I would love to meet would be somebody that has brought so much to the world, somebody that's brought so much awe. And I talk, and live for moments of awe. And I encourage people to look for moments of awe. But I think it'd be Sir Richard Attenborough.
Mm.
And as you can see, I'm choosing to, actually I can see a few clouds, so hopefully it doesn't rain, but choosing to do this outside because most of us, we live on a beautiful planet that's so precious. And I think, he's just the most remarkable man with the greatest humility. And I think he's brought, in my lifetime, probably brought more wow moments, more awe moments to more people on this planet, and helping us understand, nature and wildlife and the beauty that's all around. I think, I think it would be him. I would love to meet him. Just such a remarkable person, incredible longevity and life, and a passion to keep going, and keep going and keep going. He's timeless. So I would love to meet, Sir David Attenborough.
Excellent.
Did I say?
So, get motivated. What does that mean to you? And elaborate a little bit on that.
So I think there are various stages of, and for me, it's how a person finds, from no matter where they are in life right now, it's how they find their own greatness. And by greatness, I mean their own greatness. And it could be absolutely anything. It doesn't have to be, an enormous achievement. And sometimes a small achievement for one person, is an enormous achievement. So it's finding your own greatness. So taking yourself from where you are now and finding that inspiration and motivation, which is a trigger, and it might come from a number of things, to go out in search of more, to go out in search of feeling accomplished, feeling challenged, and being alive. That's again why I love nature so much. It's being alive, and greatness is being alive. So motivation, I believe motivation, and for me, the start of my second life, and I've lived two lives. The start of my second life at age 35 um, was purpose, was truly finding my purpose, because purpose transcends everything else. Purpose is a thing that um, motivates you, reinvigorates you, and inspires you to go after better, to go after better health, better well-being, greater achievements, how you feel about yourself. So motivation comes, sometimes motivation can just be a an emotion that says, I know there's better. I want to do better. I want to achieve more. I want to be happier. I want to feel weller. Um, I want to be well, and I want to feel alive. And so it's a trigger or a spark, if you like. And without purpose, sometimes it comes from finding your purpose, but without purpose, you might just think, hey, I want to do better. I want to do more. I want to lose weight. I want to feel good. Without all the other elements and all the other resources, motivation quickly fizzles. It goes. And so it needs to be meaningful, and it needs to be lasting. So it needs to be enduring. So it needs to be grounded from purpose. And the people that live the longest on this planet, and the people that are most alive, are people that wake every day with true purpose. And your purpose can be absolutely anything, but you must have purpose. And the key, the power of purpose is that as you push yourself to find out more about yourself, to achieve more, as you stretch yourself, you're going to fail. You will fail. You will find struggle. You'll have roadblocks and road bumps. And the further you stretch yourself, the more you're going to have, the more struggle you're going to have. And purpose is the element that provides the element that helps develop resilience. It's the element that helps you reframe, refocus, whether it's in the moment, on the day, and find a positive mindset to continue and to believe that you're on the right track. And this is just a setback, but this is just a sort of a momentary thing. And you can choose, and decisions are so important. So out of the 35,000 decisions or so that it's estimated our brains make each day, it's the ones around discretionary effort that are the most important. The ones where you choose to go down the tougher road, to keep trying, and to find courage and bravery and belief, as opposed to, I'm going to take the easier road and just quit. This is too hard. I'm not going to make it. And so it's those decisions that are so important. And there's purpose, courage, bravery, and a whole bunch of elements that you need to embed and practice to enable you to achieve things perhaps that you think are impossible. One of the things I truly love, and I guess I've had this realization, epiphany myself, in achieving things that I thought were impossible. I couldn't have dreamed of the things that I've achieved in the second half of my life. And so what I've tried to do to bring that to life is to share those with people, so that you can kind of go, well, where are you at? What is it you need next? Do you need to build resilience? Do you need to find your purpose? Are you trying to find courage? What is it that and it's all about mindset. Everything is about mindset. Everything we do is driven by that positive mindset. And it's not easy to create. It's not a kind of, cheap thing. It's something you need to practice. Absolutely. And for a positive mindset, it must have a foundation of gratitude. It must. To be truly positive, you must find gratitude in your life, find gratitude in what's around you, and constantly create perspective. Constantly create perspective. And you do those elements well and practice those, and you will be happier. You will be more motivated. You know, you will, whether it's serotonin or adrenaline or whatever, you'll create those circumstances that enable you to go, yeah, you know what, I can do this. You know what, this ain't going to beat me. You know what, I'm not through, and I'm going to get to where I said I was going to get to. Nothing's going to stop me. Nothing.
No, that's excellent, man. I mean, you said so much there. It's like, man, I just want to pick parts of it even. But I wanna go back to one of the first things you mentioned, because it might sound a little strange to somebody, but it goes along with your testimony, and you hinted on it a second ago too. But you talk about having a second life. Obviously, we only have
Mm,
one life, but the
we
what
do.
transpired in your life made a distinctive segment where you started basically a new chapter of your life, and that has a
Yep.
lot to do with the tests and trials that you went through. So tell us a little bit more about your backstory. What got you to the
Mm,
point where you knew, like you were talking about, you had to change your mindset, you had to get a different perspective,
yep.
you needed to get motivated, and what you did to do that?
Mm. Okay. All right. I'll try and make this as succinct as I can because I'm 61, so there's a lot of years to talk about Donato, and you know, it's a lot of days in 61 years. Yes, you know, my transformation started, and my second life started 26 years ago. And in case I forget to say, I'm just going to say it now. I'm 61, and I feel like there are limitless possibilities. Life is unlimited, and every day, every month, every year, those possibilities grow. And so it is exponential. And I feel so much life. I feel as alive today or more alive than I've ever felt. But it wasn't always that way. So essentially, I grew up in semi-rural England, you know, fairly stable and normal upbringing. And the one thing that I loved, and by the way, if there's something you love in life, just go after it with everything you have, because if you love
Yeah.
something, that's your passion, that's your purpose, then the sky's the limit. The world is unlimited. Anyway, I love playing football. In the UK, it's called football, and in America, it's soccer. I did tour
Soccer,
the
yep.
US when I was pretty young, playing soccer, and that was a special kind of thing for me at 14. At 15, I was offered a apprenticeship with a first division UK soccer team,
Wow.
and I was undertaking my school studies, and it was very risky. It would have, I'd have to travel. This particular club was 2.5 hours away by train. I was 15. I was studying. I'd have to do that three or four, at least probably 4 times a week. 2 or 3 nights on school nights, and it
Wow.
was the thing that I'd always dreamed of doing. I always wanted. It was my everything. I played 4 games a week. That was my thing, and I go to bed at night dreaming about the game I had the next day and how I was going to play. And anyway, so uh, my head made the decision as opposed to my heart, and it was just such a big risk because a team will take on 30 or 40 apprentices, and after 2 years, probably only two of them will make it. Injury and all the rest. So I'd have had to forgo my school studies, and so I made a decision with my head, and I decided not to go ahead. So then basically I started going to the pub at a pretty early age. I started smoking, I started drinking, and of course at 15, 16, there are other distractions. So my life went in a kind of quite different direction. I moved to Australia. I was fortunate enough, the best move of my life was to come here at age 17, and had a pretty interesting year. Not too many 17-year-olds would have a year like this. So um, I I started up one of the first physical cassette video shops in Australian history. I was um, I was commissioned to paint the original artworks for the Intercontinental Hotel that was built in a famous Treasury building in Sydney. I think it was the youngest artist in the world to be commissioned by the Intercontinental Hotel chain to paint pictures. I had a car accident and was that close to death. You know, a few skull fractures, 16 jaw fractures, jaw coming through here, teeth coming through here, cheek fractures, face wired together, lost half my teeth. And then I also managed to save up enough money, and I took a big risk, and I bought 2 properties in Sydney. So 17, 18 was a pretty big year. And then essentially I, kind of worked hard, and, life just carried on as it does. You try and make ends meet, and my regret was growing, and I looked at myself in the mirror. The thing that I would most enjoy telling people, and I, for my work, I drank a bit. I had to socialize and, hospitality and so on. And I like to have a few drinks, Donato, and tell people that I would say to them, I could have been a professional soccer player. And it would be me essentially bragging about it. And I'd look myself in the mirror, and my regret was growing, and I didn't like myself because I didn't. The reality is I didn't. I had no right to do that. And I felt some shame in that. And that continued to grow. And the thing with regret is it grows. And as you get older, and your capability to achieve amazing things. I mean, there's always capability there, but to achieve what you could have done, if I'd been an athlete at 20, who knows? But the regret grows, and it was consuming me. And I just knew I was so desperate to change. I knew I was so desperate to stop taking the easier road and find out what my potential was, to find out what I could do in life. And I'd done okay. But I knew within me that I was born to be capable of so much more. And the reason I wasn't was because of me, was because of my own choices. And, I wasted the opportunity that I had. And so one day, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to do a very small sprint corporate triathlon. And I went, yeah, I can do that. I'd smoked a packet of cigarettes a day and drank quite a bit, but I thought, I'm 35. I can run 3 kilometers. That'll be fine. And anyway, a couple of weeks later, we sat down for a cup of coffee, and he said, hey, Jace, how are you going with your training? And I said, yes, guys, been doing a few runs. I'll be right. And he said, well, how's the swimming going? And I must have the blood drained from my face, and had this knot in my stomach, and I wanted to be sick. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, how's the swimming and the cycling going? Oh, well, I'm just running. Well, why would I need to do those things? He said, mate, you're doing all of them. And I was paralyzed with fear. And my 2 greatest fears in life, one was drowning, because I couldn't swim. And beyond that, because of my upbringing, my other greatest fear was failure. And so for many people, your fears, they consume you. They're your neurological captors, and they keep you in, and they do not enable you to, they keep you in nice and safe, and comfortable. And so you never go after, things that destabilize that. So anyway, I knew this was a critical point, and I made the decision and said, you know what, Jason, this is it. This is actually it. You've got to go do something that truly scares you, because if you don't do it this time, you know what? It'll be forever. And so I would drive to the swimming pool. I would sit outside the pool, and the first, quite a few times, I'd sit there gripping the steering wheel, and I'd be almost paralyzed with fear. And it would take me 20 minutes to convince myself to go into the swimming pool and try and swim, because I couldn't put my head underwater. Anyway, I went through that. The first time I swam 2 25-meter laps, and I just kept believing in myself and saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And I knew the formula for success was to actually have a plan. And you just literally, you would, have a 90-day high performance rolling plan, which I've used for 25 years or 26 years in business and in personal life, which basically, you've got your purpose, you've set your goals, and your goal might be enormous. In fact, it's so psychologically confronting. You actually have to put that away, and you've got a plan that just says what you need to get up and do in sequence to achieve that outcome, and therefore you just have to find the discipline to achieve that outcome, to get up and do it every day. Anyway, so that's what I did, and I did the triathlon, and I nearly drowned in Noosa River in Queensland, but I survived, and the exhilaration was so great that I just wanted to bottle it. I just wanted to, after a couple of days, it started to fade a bit. I just went, this is it. This is what I got to do. This is what I was meant to do. And so I sat down and thought about my purpose. And my purpose came to me quite quickly. What are you capable of doing? What are you capable of achieving? Where is your limit? How far can you go? My purpose was to go find out what I was really capable of and where my limits were, or if I had limits. And that was the journey I started. And I kind of watched the curiosity back then, so 25 years ago, was the Hawaii Ironman World Championships. And, these days that's pretty mainstream. And but back then it was kind of a novelty and a curiosity, even though it had been around for decades. And I sat there and I watched it, and I was, having a cup of coffee and smoking a cigarette in my lounge room. And I was so captivated that I knew that was what I had to go do. So I basically had to take my mind from, I had to multiply out all the distances I'd just done in the corporate triathlon by about 15. That's an Ironman. Just to do an Ironman, and of course, to qualify for Hawaii, you have to qualify in your age group at one of the many races around the world, which is not so easy to do. And I couldn't ride a bike a couple of months before. I couldn't swim. I had a deep fear of swimming. I'd always been a runner, but that was a fairly big challenge. So that's what I set out to do. That was the trigger, finding my purpose and completely overhauling and transforming my life. And I just set out on this wonderful journey. I've seen remarkable things, remarkable people, and been to many places in the world and raced and overcome, I think, pretty significant adversity. So I've been hospitalized 35 times. I've nearly died 3 times. I had a very, very serious car accident, as I said, that nearly killed me at 18. I've been hit on my bike training by two trucks and almost died in both of those accidents. It's kind of endless things. I've broken, I've had 35 surgeries. I've broken more than 40 bones. Wow. And there've been some other, life challenges, business challenges along the way. And I've been fortunate enough to develop a mindset that is unlimited. It definitely doesn't mean that I'm egotistical or I think I'm better than other people. And there's no better. This is all about you. This is the test of truth is about hand on heart, how you feel about yourself. And that for me is that's my legacy, if you like. It doesn't matter what other people think about you, because we spend most of our lives with a facade, and we not half the time not being ourselves, and we worry more about what other people think instead of being truly who we are. But it doesn't matter what other people think. It's what you think about yourself, because when you go to sleep at night, when you're sitting there retired in your armchair, that's the armchair test. How do you feel about yourself, and how do you feel about your life? So there's nothing else. The trigger of motivation is to have no regret.
There you go. And wow, what a testimony. I mean, and all of those things, and then competing in those Ironman competitions later stages in your life. I mean, that's just like you're saying, it's unlimited, limitless. It's finding out, But one of the things that I want to center on too is that 90-day plan of yours, right?
Yep.
Because I think that's something that's distinctive and unique, and that's one of those, obviously for you and for hopefully many other people that are going to hear this,
Yep.
a way for us to focus, right? To
Yep.
center up and to develop that plan. So maybe tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
more about that.
Sure. So I mean, that's in my book. It was one of the things, and the purpose of my book and my story was for me to be able to give back. That I feel incredibly fortunate. I have immense gratitude, and I believe I've always helped and encouraged and mentored and tried to inspire people, at work and kind of anywhere I go. And that actually has grown exponentially. It's grown exponentially since I wrote my book and launched it. And, I'll meet people at the local coffee shop randomly and I'll listen to them. And very few people get listened to, Donato, I believe, really listened to. And I'll try and understand them. I'll try and understand what the barriers or the roadblocks are, who they want to be, what they want to achieve, and I'll just sit and have a cup of coffee with them and kind of explain. And I also have a professional side to that, but I love doing that, with no return and for free. And so a lot of what's in my book is me trying to translate the complexity of how I did it and break it down so that other people can take elements of that and go, well, this is where I'm at, and this is the bit I don't have. And a 90-day high performance plan is one of those. And when I say high performance, it doesn't mean you're going to be number one, you're going to be better than everyone else. It's about your own high performance. It's about being better, doing better, feeling well, eating better, whatever it is. And so if I can just caveat that and say, 40% of adults in the world make a New Year's resolution every year, and only by the end of January, it's estimated that only 1 in 10 are still sticking. Most people have just thrown it away by the end of January. And the top three, as you would know, I'm sure, Donato, the top three goals that people have are all around wellness and health. They are all around, number 4 is about wealth and, financial comfort or financial success. But the top 3 are our most valuable assets, which is our physical and our mental health. And some people do that repeatedly in a loop each year. And so I believe, and so how the 90-day performance plan, high performance plan is set up, it's actually really simple. You should be able to look at it on a wall. It's just one page and it's just got some columns, and you should be able to look at it every day, especially if you sort of have any doubt, and be really clear about why you're doing this. Be really clear about the incremental steps of success, and then be really clear about, in that 30 days, 90 days, 60 days, 90 days, what your measurements of success are, but what you actually need to do. And then what you do is you push the purpose and the goals and the measurements to one side, and you just focus on getting up every day and committing to doing what you said you're going to do, and all the other stuff will happen. And so it's a pretty simple template. It's in the book. I'm happy to send it to anyone if they get in contact with me. There's no secrets about it. It's really more how you set it up and implement it. And I found, because I set 10-year goals, I set 5 and 10-year and even beyond goals. So the Hawaii Ironman for me, just to, the first thing I did was go, okay, well, I want to do an Ironman. I want to do the Hawaii Ironman, but in between that, I've got to qualify and race an Ironman in Australia. And so, I set myself a target of 12 months. And to do that, I set up distances in between that were stepping stones, because you can't suddenly go out and do 15 times as much. And so what happens is people become debilitated by that goal, and they're running and they're struggling to run 5Ks, and they go, how on earth am I going to do this? And they go, it's too hard. I'm never going to do that. So I set that as a 12-month plan. And I kind of set a 5-year goal to get to Hawaii. And I did that with running as well. Probably was a more successful runner even in my late 40s than I was an Ironman, because I was a pretty good runner. But that's what I would do. And then I'd just break it down. I just look at it and go, okay, what am I getting up and doing tomorrow? That's all I got to do. I just got to have no excuses. And I've just got to get up and do that. And I believe also in life there are reasonable reasons you can't do something. And that there are reasonable reasons and there are excuses. It just depends on how you define them. Something emergency with your family or work, is a reasonable reason. But being tired, having no time, uh, and a whole bunch of other things are just excuses for you to
Right.
take the easier road, I believe. So that's what I do, and I set those going. I just kept getting up and doing it, and there would be times when, so for me, you know, having being seriously injured and coming back from being smashed up, was not a reasonable reason. So I'd do some pretty extreme things. Once I got hit by a truck and kind of had holes in my arms and my elbow bones sticking out, and I'd lost like large areas of skin off multiple layers off my back and my butt cheeks, and I had to put plastic skin on, which was in the very early. I think I was one of the test patients for plastic skin grafts many years ago. 8 days later,
Wow.
I'd be out running with plastic skin on
Wow.
because my legs worked. So I figure I could do it. But either way, and this is if I can kind of one of the things I can really hone in on today is that too many people get consumed by a problem or an issue. You can a problem. Firstly, you should create perspective, and I've got a kind of technique I used in the book to create perspective. It's like don't sweat the small stuff. It's a range of things from are you going to die down to are you in the middle of the ocean, 100 miles offshore, being circled by shark fins, and there's no ships in sight. Yeah, that's something to worry about. Or on the other end of the scale, are you at a barbecue and there's a mosquito trying to bite your ankle? Is that really worth worrying about? Is that serious? So everything that happens to us in a day sits somewhere on that scale. And if you consume yourself with stress, you will paralyze yourself. Stress of things that are truly not important, things that you won't remember in a year, things you won't remember at 60 or 65 when you're sitting there retired. You won't even remember them, let alone did they define your life. So your ability to be able to shed that negativity and that worry and that stress, which will ultimately kill you earlier, is to go, it's not important. I'm going to take myself out of that mindset right now, and I'm going to focus on a solution to the issue I'm facing or to the challenge I'm facing. So it's how you reframe it in your mind. And I'm going to find a solution. I'm going to go after that. That's the only thing I'm going to focus on is the solution because, and I always say to myself, always say to other people, they tell me an issue or problem. I go, what's the outcome you want? What's the outcome you need? And they go, oh yeah, well actually it's this. And I go, okay, well now we just need to figure out how you get that outcome. That's it. Let's plan it. Let's work it out, and let's go after that outcome and that solution. And that is the unlimited mindset is not. It doesn't make you the greatest human being. I don't mean it in that way. It means you stop telling yourself and letting other people tell you what you can't do, that your problems are insurmountable. And you go, what? You go, you know what? I can do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to find a way. So let's think about the way that I'm going to do that. And you keep stretching, you just stretch your mindset. And I did that. Like I've tried to do that with lots of things in life, and I've failed miserably a bunch of times. And your failure and your struggle actually make any achievement. They're the only things that make your achievement worthwhile. If you don't fail, you don't struggle, you don't pull yourself up. In fact, the more times you do that, the more meaningful your achievement will be. And you change your mindset to the bit, where you struggle and you go, oh, this is hard, struggling. You go, actually, this is why I do it. This is what makes this worthwhile. This is why I will do that. And you change your mindset and you smile and you do things that put you into a positive frame of mind and they just power you on. Absolutely. So I did that as I converted from Ironman, I went to run ultras. I was, again, fortunate enough. I won a bunch of races outright. One of my goals was to qualify for the world championships at elite level over 100 Ks. And I chased after that and I came very close, but I gave it everything with all my heart. I came and raced a classic race, So this is an example of what you can do when you believe you can. I got into the Western States 100 miler, which is sort of one of the classic premium, prestigious 100-mile trail races in the world, and I got in because of my road running performance. I had never raced a trail race in the world anywhere, any trail race, and I turned up to the Western States to give that a go. So it's 100 miles, Sierra Nevada mountains. It's about 38,000 feet of vertical elevation change, goes from 100 degrees in the canyons. It's pretty cold and snow-covered peaks. I lost a bunch of toenails while I was racing, and blisters, super glue, and all that kind of stuff. Probably because I wasn't very good at foot care. But when I got there, there was a documentary film crew that were interviewing people, and they somehow picked me out in the crowd. I don't know, or an Aussie or whatever, and they sort of a bit of a curiosity, and they interviewed me and filmed me before the race. And they asked me, what the Western States meant to me because it's such a prestigious race, and what races I'd done before, and I just said, "Oh, this is my first trail race," and they laughed. They just didn't laugh. They laughed. They thought that was incredibly humorous, and I could see they're all thinking, you're gonna fail. You're absolutely dead set. You're an idiot." And so I that was an amazing. I learned a lot that day, and I walked away with a silver belt buckle, which is for the few that actually managed to finish it in a day under 24 hours. But I told myself that I could do it, and that was all I needed to do. I also did the training, and I have a philosophy of you always train harder than the game. So that's kind of what I did. And actually, sorry, just one thing while I remember, I do keep going on tangents, I know, but they're probably pretty relevant. So around mindset is you are what you say and what you think, Donato.
Yeah.
You are what you say and what you think. And you are to other people what you say and think, and you are to yourself. So we all have this kind of self-talk that tells us, we all have some of us, it runs faster than others. You can't do that, and you worry about stuff. But the words you say and think are vitally important as well. So I set out 25 years ago to banish a bunch of words that were highly toxic and negative. And I sort of sat down to write a list of 10. I suggest everyone does this. Write down your top 10. You might not have 10. And I only got 5. And at the top of my list was hate. So we use that frequently in our vocabulary around very trivial things. I talked before about perspective and mindset. Hate is a very, very toxic word. And, saying to someone when you get in the lift in the morning, "Oh, the bus was 3 minutes late this morning. Oh, I hate that. Oh, yeah, I hate that too." You have set if that's how you live, that you truly hate the bus being 3 minutes late, let me tell you, you're never going to get anywhere near achieving your full potential. So hate was one of those words I banished. And the next one was hard. And because if you think something's hard and you say it's going to be hard,
it will be
going
hard.
to be hard.
Yeah, that's right.
It will be hard. And as I adapted my training, and I would do some of the things I do when I was training for, well, every week, one of my runs was a 6-hour hill run. And I would run up and down the same 1.5 kilometer hill, like up at 20 times, down at 20 times, like up and back, up and back. And they were pretty hot days. Some days it was 35 or 40 degrees. And when you're doing it, your brain has a tendency to tell you how your body's feeling and how it's thinking. And that's a word that comes out, this is hard. You say to yourself, you self-talk, this is hard. And so I would banish it. It keeps coming back in, but I would banish it, and I would just smile. And you know what? If you deliberately smile when you're in the middle of a crisis or a tough place, your whole demeanor changes. So I would randomly smile when I'd go for 6 or 7 or 8 hour training runs each week. There would be plenty of times I would smile. and it changes your whole psychology and your demeanor. So yeah, there were obviously a few other words which I talk about also in my book, but how you think is how you are. So
Yep.
change the way you think. Think about your identity and go, you know what? Is that my identity? Like, is that my identity for life? Am I happy with that? And you know what? If you're really happy with who you are and your identity, hats off to you. Brilliant. But if it's an identity you're not happy with, change it. Change it bit by bit, incrementally, and you would be astounded with what you can achieve.
Well, and you definitely have, right? I mean, again, the title of the book, Unlimited, and it's the art of being limitless. And all of the things that you've talked about here. I mean, there is so much for us to learn, to understand, to go through. Talk a lot about mindset. That's huge. You know, the attitude of gratitude, all of that. And even your 90-day plan, very goal oriented, right? And I think one of the hard things that maybe people have when it comes to goals is they don't understand those increments that you're spelling out, right? That you have to go from here to here to here to here to here to here in order to get
Yep.
that big
Yep.
goal, you know?
Yep.
And that all that is project planning, really, you know?
It is.
And
It
and
it
but
it is.
our mindset, and that's what I want you to talk about maybe just a little bit more before we finish today is what do we do? How do we change our mindset? Because we could be told from a young age, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or whatever else. And like those words you just mentioned, you know, hard and everything else, right?
Yep.
I mean, we get these things ingrained in us. How do we get out of that?
Yeah, that's it is a gradual uh, it is a gradual process, Donato, and it's a sequence. I think, as I mentioned before, it's a sequence. Understanding where you are, because everyone is different, about what you need to practice and focus on next is really important. And you know you've got to make sure you've got the right building blocks in place. So purpose is it. If you don't have purpose, so purpose, lots of people get excited and they set some goals, but they're not really sure why. They don't have clarity of purpose or why tonight. And what happens is, when the wheels fall off or there's a small challenge, they get derailed and they go back to that. Yeah, I told you you're going to fail. You can't do that. You're not capable of that. Don't don't wish for more. Be content. And so your purpose is what grounds you and fuels you again. You remember why you did this. So let me give you an example if I can. If you're going to set a New Year's resolution and it's about losing weight or feeling fitter, you need to define why. Because one is a kind of a want, it's not a why. So I always encourage people, whether I work professionally with them or it's just someone I meet at the coffee shop, is ask them why. Is go, how will this thing make you feel? How brilliant will it be? How will it change your life? And it's a paragraph. And if you don't get that, your goals are can be a little hollow. They can be little less. They'll be less meaningful. Um, so that's why that's so important. And then goals should be just relative to you. Doesn't matter lots of people, especially in running and sport and whatever, they can, I'm on lots of different Facebook groups trying to help people, especially people starting out, and they get consumed and paralyzed by what other people are doing. And they go, hey, I just want a bit of advice. I know I'm really slow. I know I'm not much of a runner. and they kind of talk themselves down. You know what? You put one foot in front of another and you step out the door, you go to fast walk or you jog or whatever. Brilliant. Doesn't matter. For me, that is, especially when people start to find that. And by the way, I popped into someone at the coffee shop this morning who's never run in his life, and he's 46 and he's just started running. He'd just come back from a run, and you can see the life in his eyes from starting to change his life. That you need to set yourself goals that are, they're a bit of a stretch. Well, they're stretch for where you are, but they don't have to be massive. For me, that was the thing that inspired me and triggered me, was if something sounded impossible, that inspired me, that excited me. I wanted to go after that. But for someone else, 10 kilometers might sound impossible. You know what? Just because other people are running a marathon doesn't diminish your 10 kilometers. If you're running a quarter of what they're running, it's irrelevant. So you need to set goals that are relevant only and meaningful to you, aligned to your purpose. And you know what? Your purpose could be, you could be a 40-year-old. Your purpose could be, I want to feel alive, and I want to have longevity, but I want to have, it's not about having more days in my life. It's having more life in my days. And you know what? If you have more life in your days and you do that, other than randoms or whatever, things you can't change, you will live longer and you will be happier each day and you will have more life. So set goals once you've got a purpose, and you might have an ultimate goal, which is to run a marathon or whatever, or I want to feel amazing and I want to look good and I want to feel alive, instead of I want to lose weight. Because I want to lose weight as a goal doesn't, when you have weeks where you're weighing yourself, and you haven't quite lost as much as you wanted to, and you're obsessed with weight, and excuse me, weight is not really that important. It's how you feel. You can be all different sizes but feel fit and alive because you're active and you eat really well. So losing weight is just it's just a societal obsession. It's how you feel, Renato. And so describe your purpose as how you feel, set some goals, create a simple plan that shows you how to get there each day. Practice things from the moment you rise that change your mindset. I learned 26 years ago that most days, like most people, I would wake up and your first thoughts about what's on in your day. What day is it? What have I got to do? And if it's a Monday, which don't like Mondays, you set your psychology up around a Monday. But you know what? You're going to get to age 70, if you get to age 70, and you're going to have 10 whole years of Mondays. Learn to love Mondays. Otherwise, you've just completely wasted 10 years of your life. People that always look forward to Friday. And yeah, I get it. It's the weekend, but Monday and Friday are both 24 hours. They're both days you never get back, as are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I would wake up, I taught myself to wake up. And the first thing I would do would kind of have this gratitude check. And I go, what are all the, became so automated over this. And I suggest people, they actually write down a kind of gratitude check, which is the things I have to be grateful for. And they can be anything, and one of the wonderful things you can do with your partner as a practice is to tell, apart from telling you love them and showing them you love them, but is to tell them what you appreciate and what you're grateful for. And that might be your life, it might be about them, but put yourself in a positive frame of mind, because it's probably 99% of the people on this, we focus on people that we think are, who we would aspire to be, successful, famous, wealthy, look at their lifestyle. I've never done that. I've never even thought about it, because it's actually down to me and it's my life. And so we're all more fortunate than most people on the planet. So set yourself up positively to think about what you do have to be truly grateful for. And you will start in a positive mindset.
Right.
You will.
Well, that is so key. I mean, that attitude of gratitude, I mean, I've
Yeah.
talked about that myself before. It's find those things. I mean, there is something to be grateful for. My mother-in-law talks about being on the right side of the daisies, right? There's something to that.
Yep.
If you woke up
Yep.
today,
Yep.
there you
Absolutely.
go. And
Life is a gift every day. Absolutely, Donato. Every day um, truly is a gift, and your mother, she sort of boiled it down to the most fundamental principle was you're alive.
that's right.
And actually, I first learned that. I first had that piece of wisdom, and I used to go to a lot of conferences and see some of the most incredible athletes and people in the world, mountaineers, and I'd walk away and I'd be wowed like everybody else, and I wouldn't ever take any action. And I remember one of the things that I learned years before that, I heard somebody talk about how they were born, at a conference into a privileged life, born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and they abused it. They had wealth, and a whole bunch of other things, and they did a whole lot of things wrong, and their life went like that. And they used this kind of, I used this as well. I used it early on. They kind of woke up one day in jail, and they'd been convicted of a whole bunch of things. They'd lost their family, their children, their wealth, everything, their dignity, and they were just one day they were sitting in a place they never thought they would be, in a cell, and didn't want to live. And he pulled out, he had a piece of paper and wrote down on a pen, drew a line down the middle, and things I have to be grateful for, positives and negatives, and all he could put on one side of the page was, I'm alive. And that was enough to completely gone to the bottom, to start to change his life around, and he started to build up that gratitude list. So that is an exceptional daily practice, Donato.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good example for us, right? We all need some of that coaching, that mentoring, that and if we do hit that low spot, get back up, right? And it's we're the ones that got to do it. One of my little slogans is get up off the couch and get motivated, right? We have to make that initiative to go out and do something. And you've certainly done that.
Yep.
And, I applaud you, but I'm thankful for the structure, the discipline that you've had and that you've shown us, because now we can take some nugget of that we didn't know, apply it to our lives, and make it even all the better. So I encourage everybody to again get the book. Fantastic book, and yep, Unlimited there, out in stores now everywhere, hopefully, and it's available for an audiobook as well. We'll have more details in the descriptions below, but thanks a lot, Jason, for being on the show today.
My pleasure.
And, wish you all the best.
Loved it. Thank you.
Come up with another one at some point in time, and we'll have you on the show again.
Thank you. I'm about 25% through number 2, so hopefully not too far away. But anyway, I'd love to be back on again if there's other things I can help folks with. That's my purpose, is to help people create their own limitless life. Go find their greatness.
Amen. All right.
Okay.
Till next time, everyone. Be blessed.
Thanks, Donato. See ya.
Follow Dr. Donato on Facebook and LinkedIn at Donato Parisi, or go to donatomotivates.com. Remember, you can be anything you want or desire. All you have to do is get motivated.